what is a safe setback from this industry. That is something that each community, each city makes a decision on its own about. And what we've already learned in Arlington, it's 600 feet. 20 miles down the road in Dallas, it's 1,500 feet. Your research earlier is telling us that for some of these chemicals, you're not even safe if you're within 2,000 feet. So I'd like you to very briefly talk with us about your findings in terms of what the current science says about what constitutes, if there is such a thing, as a safe setback distance from this industry.
The setback question is difficult to answer precisely because health and safety often depend on how many wells you're exposed to, the density, as well as the distance. But let me bring up a topic which isn't always considered health and safety. That's the risk of explosions and blowouts.
Yep.
That's rare, but devastating when it occurs. In the Barnett Shale from 2006 to 2015, in other words, during the time of fracking, there were 16 blowouts that my colleagues found. The average evacuation area for this was 0.8 miles, average, not maximum, and displaced 49 families. In addition to that, when wells explode, they sometimes create fires, and those fires burn very hot. And one of my colleagues also analyzed this and found that at a 500-foot setback, risk of second-degree burns occurred in 30 minutes.
Mm.
And at 350 feet, which is greater than the Lubbock setbacks was, you could get second-degree burns in 22 seconds.
Oof.
So
Wow.
if you're thinking about, so a lot of mothers were thinking about schools and blowouts by a school. Let me point out 500 feet is too close, is clearly much too close.
Mm-hmm.
And considering that the average evacuation distance we found was 0.8 feet, was 0.8 miles, a reasonable school setback is probably a mile to protect from explosions and blowouts. The incidence isn't very high, but it goes up every year. The more wells you're exposed to and the longer those wells are in operation, the greater likelihood you're going to be exposed to an explosion. Now, the Colorado study that I mentioned suggested a 2,000-foot setback, and this was based on the Colorado government data. And that would sure be good. I would like to see 2,000 feet. But there's additional information as well about risk to fetuses. You know, the developing fetus is more susceptible to toxins than adults are. And there was one study showing that pregnant women who live within 1 kilometer have a significantly increased risk of a problem with pregnancy as a result of proximity to wells, such as low birth weight and preterm birth. And that as you moved out toward 3 kilometers, there was still a risk, although it was diminished. And that over 3 kilometers, there didn't seem to be a problem. So let's just say overall, I would say a 1 mile setback for schools would be great. If you're pregnant, or thinking of becoming pregnant, I'd also suggest living at least a mile from wells, possibly 2 miles, which would be the 3 kilometer distance these researchers found. However, we also found that setbacks are a political issue. And given current politics, a 1 mile for everybody from a well was probably not going to be achievable in the near future, but I could certainly support 2,000 feet. I think the 500 feet is reckless endangerment.